You ever have a job that leaves you with this deep, lingering sense of unease? I'm not just talking about stress or burnout, but something heavier, a wound to your very conscience. Well, today we're diving into that profound experience, something that affects soldiers, doctors, journalists, you name it. It's called moral injury.
So let's start with this powerful definition from some of the pioneering researchers in the field. This is so important because it really broadens our understanding beyond just, doing something wrong. Moral injury can also come from what you failed to do, what you were forced to watch, or even just what you found out about. It's basically any experience that just shatters your fundamental sense of right and wrong. I mean, just imagine for a second, you're a doctor, and you're forced to deny a patient life-saving treatment because of some insurance rule. Or maybe you're a journalist covering a disaster and you feel this wave of guilt, like you're profiting from someone else's suffering. Or a soldier haunted by an impossible choice you had to make in a split second. These aren't just bad days at the office. These soul-crushing feelings have a name, and understanding that name is the very first step.
All right, so let's put a formal definition to this feeling to really get a handle on what it is, and, just as importantly, what it isn't.
And that last sentence right there is absolutely critical. Moral injury is not a mental illness. It's not a medical diagnosis like depression or PTSD, which is a really common misconception. A better way to think of it is as a wound, but not to your body. It's a wound to your character, to your spirit, to your moral compass. It's the suffering that happens when you've been forced to violate your own internal code of what's right.
And this is where we can really see the difference. PTSD, that's primarily rooted in fear, helplessness, or horror. It's a response to a threat to your life, to your physical safety. But moral injury, that comes from a totally different place. We're talking about guilt, shame, anger, and betrayal. The focus isn't on what might harm my body. It's on, did I just violate what is fundamentally right? Now, they can definitely happen at the same time, but they are very, very different wounds.
And the scale of this problem is just staggering. To give you a sense of how common this is, studies have found that as many as 1 in 4 combat veterans has experienced a morally injurious event. 1 in 4. This is a widespread, deeply human challenge that we're talking about.
So, how does this injury actually happen? What are the events that cause it? Well, researchers have identified some pretty specific pathways that can lead to this wound. Let's break them down.
Now, it's important to see these not as a sequence, but as different types of events. It can be caused by betrayal. When someone in charge who you trusted violates that trust. It can come from an act of commission. That means something you actually did, whether you chose to or were forced to. It can also be an act of omission, failing to do something you know you should have. And finally, it can be caused by simply witnessing something that goes against everything you believe in. Any one of these can be a powerful trigger.
And this isn't just some vague, fuzzy feeling we're describing. Science is actually now able to measure the different dimensions of moral injury. Researchers use tools like the Occupational Moral Injury Scale to help quantify the impact of these different events. It's a way of taking this invisible wound and making it visible, something we can actually see, measure, and, hopefully, better understand.
Okay, and this is a really critical pivot point. So far, we've been looking at the individual experience. But what if the problem isn't just inside someone's head? It's time to zoom out and look at the environments, the systems that create these moral pressures in the first place.
I absolutely love this quote because it completely reframes the whole issue. Moral injury isn't a sign of individual weakness, it's a warning signal. It's the canary in the coal mine telling us that something might be deeply wrong with the system, not just the person.
And here are some of those systemic failures in action. This is from a review of moral distress in healthcare. Just look at these triggers. Do you see a theme here? Strict hierarchies, lack of support, constant staff shortages, a culture of blame. These aren't about one person's choices. They're about the organization's structure and its culture.
I mean, think about it. When a company lays people off with zero notice, or when it constantly asks employees to handle impossible workloads with fewer and fewer resources, that's a profound betrayal. That trust gets broken, and it can be morally injurious for the entire staff, not just the people who leave.
So, if the causes are this complicated, involving both the individual and the entire system, what in the world does healing even look like? Let's explore some of the ways forward. This right here gets to the absolute heart of the solution. Healing has to be a two-pronged approach. You can't just try to fix the person and then send them right back into the very system that harmed them. Real, lasting healing means supporting the person and reforming the environment that caused the injury.
So here's what that two-pronged approach can look like in the real world. For professionals, sure, things like ethics training and talking with peers are huge. But look at the right side of this table, the organizational side. This is about systemic change. Things like creating a just culture, where mistakes are learning opportunities, not just a reason to blame someone. It's about leadership stepping up, fixing harmful policies, and making it okay to talk about moral stress.
And the great news is, this isn't just theoretical. We have real-world examples of this stuff working. Take Project Trauma Support. It's a Canadian program for veterans and first responders. It's a residential program focused on creating a safe space where people can process what they've been through with comrades who actually get it.
And the results? They're just so powerful. This chart shows what happened to participants' psychological distress levels, measured on a standard scale. Before the program, the average score was over 20. After, it dropped to around 14. That's a 27% reduction in psychological distress. This is measurable, positive proof that these interventions really, truly work.
And it's not just about the numbers. Paired with that hard data is this quote from the study. The participants didn't just say they felt a little better. They said the program was transformational. That just shows you what's possible when we tackle moral injury head-on with compassion and real peer support.
And all of this brings us to one final crucial question. If moral injury so often comes from systemic problems, a flawed culture, a bad policy, a failure in leadership, then where does the responsibility for healing actually lie? Is it all on the individual to find their own way to get better? Or does the system that broke their trust have a fundamental duty to help repair that damage? It's a tough question, and definitely one worth thinking about.